I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes, but we're not. We're attacking the rim. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing.
Stephanie White completely lost it after what went down with the Indiana Fever last night. She didn't bite her tongue. She called out the referees right there in front of everyone, saying exactly what fans have been screaming for weeks. The Fever fell short to the New York Liberty by just 2 points. But let's be real, they were straight up robbed. A minus 31 free throw differential across recent games. That's not just bad officiating, that's rigged. And in the final moments, when Caitlin Clark was clearly fouled on a potential game-tying play, the refs just swallowed their whistles. No call. Game over. Stephanie White didn't hold back. She questioned the entire WNBA officiating system and whether it even has any integrity left. In this video, we're breaking it all down. The key moments, the blown calls, and the shocking numbers that prove something seriously wrong. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are the WNBA refs out of control? Let's talk about it.
Then she holds her, watch this, with her shoulder and on her arm when she follows through and then fouls her for the 4th time on her arm. It's cheating. It's plain as day. The haters will say she got locked up. Yeah, if you're fouling the whole game. But I'm going through this entire game. The corrupt refs gave this game to New York and they still barely won.
Imagine this, the Indiana Fever going blow for blow with the reigning champs, trading buckets like it's a title fight. Aaliyah Boston was a force of nature, dropping 27 points and hauling in 13 rebounds like it was nothing. And in her first start of the season, Lexi Hull delivered when it mattered most, putting up 15 clutch points to keep Indiana in the fight. This wasn't just a good performance, it was championship caliber basketball from the Fever. But from the very first tip-off, something didn't sit right. The whistles, silent. Every time the Fever attacked the rim, they took serious contact, the kind that should lead to free throws. But instead of hearing a whistle, they got nothing. Meanwhile, the New York Liberty, they were getting every call, trip after trip to the line. The stats say it all. New York shot 32 free throws, while the Fever only had 15 attempts. That's more than double. In a game that came down to just 2 points, that kind of imbalance isn't just suspicious, it's game-changing. How are you supposed to win when the other team gets twice the chances at the line?
A 3 off target, batted a lot, bodies on the floor. Clark 1-on-3 trying to split the defense, goes into traffic and reverses it off the glass. And a fearless Caitlin Clark here.
Watch how she uses her body to shield the defender. That's just beautifully done by Caitlin Clark.
You want to talk about potential? Look no further than that third quarter. The Fever outscored the Liberty by 17. Yes, 17 points in just 1 quarter. That's not just a run, that's domination against the defending champs. It was proof that when the playing field is level, Indiana can go toe-to-toe with the best team in the league. Caitlin Clark was battling through it all. Double teams, relentless physical defense, constant pressure, and still, she put up 18 points and dished out 10 assists. Every drive she took was met with heavy contact, but the refs, silent. No whistles, no calls, even when she was clearly getting fouled. Meanwhile, Liberty players were going to the line on soft touch fouls. The difference in how each team was officiated, undeniable.
No pass shot possessions for New York. Clark, step back 3. Oh, she hit it and draws the foul. Welcome back, Caitlin Clark.
The Fever had this game in the bag. They were up by 12 in the 4th quarter. Everything was going their way until the officiating completely flipped the script. The Liberty didn't just claw their way back with good basketball. They got a helping hand from the refs with a string of calls that shifted all the momentum. Jonquel Jones went off in that final quarter, dropping 14 points for New York. She attacked the basket hard, and unlike the Fever, she actually got the calls. On the other end, Indiana was getting hammered with no whistle in sight. The difference in how the two teams were officiated, it couldn't have been more obvious.
Our third quarter was really, really good. Obviously, if we won the quarter by 17 points, that's what put us in a position to have a chance to win. So essentially, We really played one good quarter of basketball and lost to the defending champions by 2. So I guess that's positive. A lot of ways to continue to get better.
At some point, it stopped being about basketball. The Fever had already proven they could outplay the Liberty. That wasn't in question. What this came down to was whether the officials were going to give them a fair shot. Indiana was playing championship caliber basketball, but it felt like they were battling two opponents, the Liberty and the referees. Every possession counted, every call could swing the game, and in the final seconds, that's exactly what happened. This is where it all unraveled, and you're about to see how the refs flat out stole this game from the Fever. Down by 2 points with just 2.9 seconds left, the ball ends up in Caitlin Clark's hands. This was the moment, a chance to tie it up, send it to overtime, maybe even snatch the win. She catches the ball at the top of the key, the entire season in her hands. And then, contact. Natasha Cloud bumps her before the play, hits her during the move, and stays on her through the shot. The replay doesn't lie. It's blatant, the kind of foul that gets called every single game. But this time, nothing. No whistle, no call, just silence. And just like that, the officials took the game out of the players' hands.
3 off target, batted a lot, bodies on the floor. Clark 1-on-3 trying to split the defense, goes into traffic and reverses it off the glass. And a fearless Caitlin Clark here.
Watch how she uses her body to shield the defender. That's just beautifully done by Caitlin Clark.
The replay couldn't be clearer. Caitlin Clark was fouled. It should have been 2 free throws with a chance to tie the game and send it to overtime. But instead of getting that opportunity, the Fever were forced to watch their hopes slip away. No whistle, no justice, just heartbreak. What should have been a shot at a comeback turned into a gut-wrenching loss. Indiana drops to 2-2 on the season, and all because the refs refused to make the call. Clark gets hacked. No foul. Game over. Just like that, everything changes. And not in the way it should have.
Refs messed up 3 calls in the last 3 possessions of this game. First, Wnba Bonner gets absolutely destroyed. No call.
And that missed call on Caitlin Clark, it wasn't the only one. Just 2 plays earlier, the officials completely ignored a blatant foul on Wnba Bonner. She had a wide open lane to the basket, went up strong, and got hammered. Clear contact, no whistle. She missed the layup, and with it, a chance to put the Fever up by 2. And if that wasn't enough, on the very next possession, Lexi Hull gets hit with a phantom foul on Sabrina Ionescu. Hull was in perfect defensive position. Hands up, feet set, no contact. It was clean. But somehow, the refs saw something no one else did and made the call anyway. 2 game-changing moments, both going against Indiana and both completely unjustified.
And then Sabrina Ionescu makes the contact.
The contact on that foul, barely there, but somehow that's what gets the whistle. While Smith is getting clobbered on the other end with 0 call, those 2 free throws by Sabrina Ionescu, they ended up being the game winners. Points that never should have been awarded in the first place, because the foul that led to them should have never been called. Meanwhile, the Fever were taking hit after hit in the paint, and the refs just kept swallowing their whistles. No consistency, no fairness, just chaos.
It's the worst one. There's 1 foul. There's 2 fouls. Then she holds her, watch this, with her shoulder and on her arm when she follows through and then fouls her for the 4th time on her arm. It's cheating. It's plain as day. The haters will say she got locked up. Yeah, if you're fouling the whole game. But I'm going through this entire game. The corrupt refs gave this game to New York and they still barely won.
3 key calls in the closing moments, and all 3 went against the Fever, each one shifting the game's result. The phantom foul called on Lexi Hull, handing the Liberty free throws and the lead. And finally, the no call on Caitlin Clark's crucial drive that might have tied the game. This is the kind of clear bias everyone's talking about. Officiating so inconsistent, it directly cost Indiana the victory. In a tight finish like this, you can't let the refs decide the winner. The Fever earned the right to settle it on the court, not because the officials refused to blow their whistles when Indiana needed them most.
Coach, you talked about the way that the game's been officiated for you guys. How did you see the foul that was not called, or a lack of foul, on the Bonner play, and then follow it up by Lexi Hull getting called for the foul?
I thought it was egregious, honestly. I mean, I thought it was obvious. I felt like AB got one. Had one going to the rim. They're in rotation. DB's was crazy. And then Lexi's, I felt like equally, we talk about, coming into the path, and it was an offensive player veering into the defensive player's path. So, I mean, it is what it is. We have to be able to play through it. But at the same time, I feel like it's really disrespectful.
You rarely see a coach this furious, but Stephanie White had every reason to be. She stepped into that press conference fully aware her team had been robbed, and there was no way she was holding back. The raw frustration was written all over her face before she even said a word.
Disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing. That it doesn't go both ways, or it hasn't gone both ways. But we also can't allow that to consume us, right? Like, we've got to be able to play through that. We've got to be able to control the things that we can control.
Dropped a truth bomb that everyone needed to hear. A staggering minus 31 free throw attempts over the past few games. That's 31 fewer chances at the line compared to their opponents. Stephanie White made it clear this isn't about a single missed call. It's a consistent pattern of officiating working against the Fever for weeks. About that missed foul on Caitlin Clark in the final seconds, White didn't hold back. She said, "I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us these last few games." When a coach says something is pretty egregious, that's coach talk for absolutely unacceptable. White doesn't use words like that lightly. It means there's something seriously wrong with how these games are being officiated.
I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes, but we're not. We're attacking the rim.
But this is where White really takes aim at the WNBA's whole system. She openly questions the league's grievance process, saying, "There's a system for us to send in complaints and voice our concerns, but honestly, I don't think it ever really works." In other words, she's calling out the league for ignoring teams when they raise issues about poor officiating. The system is broken, and this isn't just frustration talking. This is a coach standing up to protect her players from ongoing unfair treatment. White also highlighted how aggressively her team attacks the basket, saying, "We're attacking the rim." She made it clear the Fever deserve more foul calls, not fewer. They're playing the kind of physical, driving basketball that normally draws whistles, but the refs just aren't making the calls.
Steph, given your perspective on the first 4 games, is that something you've already tried to be proactive with the league, or you'll reach out to them and let your feelings known?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a system to making sure that we can send stuff in and communicate, our grievances, so to speak. I don't know that I ever feel like the system works. We're not looking for a change. We're just looking for consistency. I felt like the second half of Atlanta, at least at our place, was at least consistent. Right, and that's the thing that we're looking for.
Stephanie White's raw emotion reveals just how deep this issue goes. This isn't about a single game anymore. It's about respect. Her team isn't getting the respect they deserve from the officials. Night after night, the Fever are battling uphill because the refs consistently treat them differently than other teams. White's boldness in speaking out publicly exposes the ongoing bias the Fever have faced all season long. Most coaches stay quiet about officiating, worried about fines or repercussions, but White isn't afraid. She's determined to stand up for her players and call out the league when it's necessary. This press conference will be remembered as the moment someone finally spoke the truth. White put the WNBA on alert. The unfair officiating against the Fever needs to end. Her team deserves better. Caitlin Clark deserves better, and the fans deserve games decided by basketball, not by refs who stay silent when Indiana gets fouled. Here's the twist no one expected. This heartbreak might be exactly the fuel the Fever need to become true championship contenders. Clark herself said, "We're just 2 possessions away from being 4-0 after that loss." Think about that. 2 possessions. That's how close this team is to an undefeated start.
On the plus side, you could say you're 2 possessions away from being 4-0 in these games. Do you look at it from both sides? Like, here are the positives of this, and then here are the things we really want to work on.
Yeah, and that's probably what's frustrating about it, too. It's like we are 2 possessions from being 4-0, but there was so many little areas in this game that we could have improved. Like, our defense, again, to start the game was poor. And we got to find a way to come out with more energy, being able to guard. And yes, they present a very tough challenge when all 5 of them can make threes. And, they're setting inverted ball screens, things like that. It's a challenge, but you got to find a way to do it.
The challenges are coming early in the season, just the right time for the team to learn and improve. Clark admits the squad is still finding its rhythm. She said, "It feels like we've only managed to put together 2 strong quarters each game." That kind of honest reflection shows this team knows exactly where they need to grow.
Consistency is definitely where we can be a lot better. Feels like every game we've really only put 2 quarters together. We're kind of waiting for that, 4 quarters of really good basketball, and I think it's going to be a learning curve. This group is new. We haven't played a ton together, so but that's what's going to have to happen if we want to beat the really good teams in this league, is you got to find a way to put together 4 really good quarters. There's going to be runs. That's basketball. They're going to go on their runs. We got to be able to find a way to stop them and then respond. So I think that's an area we can certainly improve in.
Aaliyah Boston's standout performance proved this team isn't one-dimensional. They've got weapons beyond Clark. Dropping 27 points and grabbing 13 boards against the defending champs, Boston showed she's not just good, she's playing at an elite level. She demonstrated she can shoulder the scoring burden when Clark has an off night, and that kind of depth is exactly what championship teams rely on.
I think for us, we just have to make sure that we're playing consistent throughout the whole game. It's pretty easy to just say that our, not getting over the hump in that 4th quarter, but I think our start, in that 2nd quarter, they outscored us by a bit. So we have to make sure that our start is better so that when we do get to the 4th quarter, it doesn't have to be this close. But it was competitive basketball. We dug ourselves in a hole to start. We got back in it, tied the game up. Sometimes the ball just doesn't roll your way, but I think if we prioritize the way we start, it's going to be better for us in that 4th quarter.
Lexi Hall's breakout performance in her first start highlights the kind of depth championship teams need. Putting up 15 points in her debut as a starter, Hall proved she deserves a spot in the lineup and gave Stephanie White a valuable new weapon. When players step up like that, the whole team benefits. Even with Clark struggling to find her shot, the Fever stayed in the fight against the defending champs. Indiana led by 12 in the 4th and dominated the 3rd quarter, outscoring New York by 17 points. This squad can take down anyone when they click for a full 4 quarters. The fire they're showing early in the season is building a team that refuses to back down, no matter the challenge. Getting screwed by the refs in a tight game only builds character and toughness. The Fever now know they can hang with the league's best, even when the odds and the officials aren't in their favor.
How do you accept officiating without letting it, affect how you go about and execute the rest of the game?
Yeah, when it comes to accepting, it's we don't really have a choice because they're going to call what they want to call. And so for us, even for me, I miss some of those easy around the rim. I think for me, I have to put them in the rim for just post talk. And we just have to finish through contact. If we don't get it, we don't get it, but we have to give ourselves the best opportunity to get that basket.
This controversy is rallying fans and sparking an us versus the world spirit, exactly the kind of mindset championship teams thrive on. When a team feels like the league is stacked against them, it tightens their bond. Players fight harder for one another, coaches become more fiercely protective, and the fan base grows louder and more passionate. Every title contender faces hurdles on their path, and the Fever are getting theirs early instead of waiting until the playoffs. They're learning how to keep their cool under pressure, how to bounce back when calls don't go their way. By the time postseason rolls around, this team will be tougher and ready for whatever comes next. These early battles are schooling them in the kind of resilience that wins championships.
We'll have a couple of days to get some work in practice, and we'll use that as an opportunity to look at some of those things. We've got to continue to do what got us here. We got to move the ball. We've got to hit singles, not make home run plays. We have a tendency to try to make the home run play all the time, the dagger or the play that gets the momentum going, and it doesn't need to be that way. We can make the easy plays. So those were more of the communications, keeping our intensity level, on both ends of the floor. You can't relax. The margin for error when you're talking about playing championship caliber teams is so small.
The referees might try to hold them back, but they can't stop what's building with the Indiana Fever. This team is crafting something truly special, and no amount of unfair officiating will slow them down. We saw the fire ignite when they got fired up. Aaliyah Boston took over, Lexi Hall rose to the occasion, and Caitlin Clark battled through every challenge thrown her way. In their last game against Atlanta, Natasha Howard, Sophie Cunningham, and even Dearest Dantis stepped up and made huge impacts. This controversy has only brought fans and players closer, a bond that championship teams thrive on. Every bad call just adds fuel to their fire. Every missed whistle makes them even more determined. Get ready for 2025, because the Fever are about to prove what happens when you turn frustration into fuel. Drop your thoughts on these terrible refs in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Tap the video on the screen now and we'll catch you in the next one.